Hey everybody, I am Justin.
And I'm James.
And together we are
Dollarwise Gamers. So before we start our rambling introduction that will sound like we just naturally came in, I think we should mention that this is episode 43.
It is episode 43.
It's a prime number podcast.
It is a prime number podcast.
1 and 43. That's it. Hey, can we just start rambling into something?
Yeah, let me think of something, and then I'll just go into it, and then you just kind of play off of it. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Hey.
Hey.
James. We have brownies.
We do have brownies.
And I believe that Janet has officially apologized. Not apologized. I'm sorry. Not officially apologized. That is incorrect. No. We have apologized enough officially
to get treats.
To get treats again.
It's true.
So
I still don't totally trust it.
I'm not 100%. It seems very, very demanding.
It really does.
Like,
Janet was here.
Well,
Eat it.
Of course Janet was
just
here.
because we know her.
Should we leave this up the whole show?
No, I think it's going to fall over.
Yeah, let's just take it down.
Yeah.
But it does say, I'm not sure if they can see it, but it does say eat me.
It does. Well, it did.
Well, yeah, now I knocked it down. Don't worry, I'll make sure that I only touch pieces that I eat.
Okay.
For those who only listen to the podcast, though, they didn't see any of that, obviously.
They're going to have to go to YouTube to see proof, or they're going to just think we're liars.
So Justin reached out and lovingly cupped the...
The what? Let's just go on.
Okay,
we won't tell them what you lovingly cupped.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish that... There we go. That's okay. That's better audio looking numbers, colors, things.
Yeah.
Okay, Tabletop Simulator is coming up very soon, April 10th.
Yes.
April 10th, next Sunday.
Okay.
Do you remember?
Yes.
We talked about it. Yes, April 10th. By the time this comes out, it'll probably be this coming Sunday if you listen to it like right away.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so...
Because we're recording on Friday.
Yeah, and it'll probably be up by Sunday.
Wait, we're recording on April Fool's Day, and she left us brownies.
That's interesting.
It's gonna be delicious.
Can I tell you a story about at my work?
Yes.
So I posted something at work. I'm the boss there. So
I saw this.
Yes, you did see this.
I did see this.
I posted that, and I got a couple of people. Some people were came to me and who the hell are you going to get to be coming in here at 1 o'clock in the morning?
1 to 4 in the morning on call.
On call. Yes. Yes. So
did anybody try to rage quit?
No, I didn't get any of that kind of stuff. I some of them they came to me and was like, "Oh, can you explain any of this?" And I was like, "I'm gonna get some more information tomorrow. I'll let you know when I get some more information. But basically, I will get an email at the beginning of the week if we're supposed to be open on any given day, and if you're on call that week, then you need to be available." So then later they went out and they went to one of the other leadership. I was like, I don't know who's going to get to freaking do this, but this is crazy.
It is crazy.
So, I got my pharmacy manager on it. He thought it was legitimate. I told him it affected the pharmacy. So
yeah.
So it was good. Everybody got. I think everybody got a good laugh out of it. I was a little concerned that some people might take it a little too much, to heart.
Yeah.
But I think it went over really well. So I was very happy.
Well, I think when you work in a corporate environment long enough, stuff like that seems like it's possible.
Well,
they're going to try it,
Yeah, and see, it's a pilot. Who knows?
In the first 3 months, 7 customers were happy, so we're going to make this a thing.
Yeah. But yes, so it was a lot of fun. I had fun with it.
I saw your outfit today, too.
Yeah, it was good.
If we had a green screen, I would force you to make that our backdrop.
The backdrop?
Time. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I maybe I'll throw it up. I'll put it up somewhere in the video.
It's important that people see.
But I work for Walgreens. Some people have maybe figured that out.
It's possible.
It's possible. But I do work for Walgreens, and right now is Red Nose Day.
Which, explain that for people who don't know.
Yep. So Red Nose Day is it's a program that started about 30 years ago in the UK.
All right.
In the UK, yeah. And comedians got together and they raised money for multiple children's charities. I don't know originally how it got, but now it goes to a bunch of children's charities around the world.
All right.
Among them is my favorite, Charity Water.
Yes.
So, and if you don't know what Charity Water is, basically they help provide drinkable, boilable water, that kind of stuff for people who don't have access to clean water.
Boilable water?
Well, not boilable.
Potable?
Potable. Thank you. Potable. potable water, which you can make food in and not have to worry about.
I think it's potable, but
maybe
correct
it's
me if
potable.
I'm wrong. Yeah, I think it is. It's like consumable water,
yes,
potable water. Yes.
Either way, but that's what they do. There's also Boys and Girls Club of America, I believe, are involved with it. Something like Feeding America or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Actually, this is from last year, so I don't know how accurate this is. But there's a bunch of different ones. United Way, the Global Fund, Feeding America it was. So
nice.
Those were at least the ones last year. I believe that they're the ones that are involved this year.
So that's one of the things. If somebody's a customer there, they're going to say, "Hey, do you want to donate $1?"
So
et cetera,
you can buy the red noses for $1, or you can just donate towards it. Because the red noses, only a portion of it goes towards it because there's a cost for the red noses, obviously.
Right.
But the entire gross profit goes towards it. It's not like Walgreens keeps anything from it.
Because that is a really common thing, actually.
It is.
There are a lot of retail chains that do that, and they end up keeping the lion's share.
Yeah, actually, there are a lot of charities out there where companies will say, we're going to donate up to $1 million. Right. And, if they make more than that, they only donate what they said they would donate. And this isn't the way this works.
Nice.
All the charity, 100% of the charity goes to the Red Nose Day Walgreens on May 26th, is in partnership with NBC. Does the Red Nose Day, which is like a phone-a-thon, telethon thing. They did it last year. This is the second year Walgreens has been involved with it, and it's because it's Walgreens Boots Alliance now.
Yeah.
So that's the company I work for, which, I am not a representative of that company, and I'm not on here speaking as a representative of that company. Nope. It just happens to be the company that I work for, and I think it's awesome that we do that. So
nice.
I support it 100%. And, go out to your local Walgreens, and we're not funded by anybody, so I can say this as much as I want.
So we're 8 minutes into our podcast. We're trying to keep short because we need to insert the interview with Dire
yes.
Nerd Studio, and we have not touched any of the notes yet.
Yes, not at all. Okay, anyway, I have Twitch streams at some point. I'm going to redo my schedules pretty soon.
Yeah.
It's kind of all over the place. So
Wednesday, 6:30 a.m. for 15 minutes.
That's right. Pretty much. Anyway, you can email us at dollarwisegamers@gmail.com. You can like us on Facebook, review us on iTunes, check us out on Stitcher, come find us on Twitter, all of those things. And what are you playing, James?
I was actually playing some Civ 5.
I know. I'm actually very impressed that you were playing for some video games.
I like it.
I'm glad that you do. It's a good one to get back into.
And on my 360, I am starting another playthrough of Red Dead Redemption.
Which, definitely worth it.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of fun. And you ought to play that through with the lady.
Yeah, I mean, it's a single player. But,
I know, but she could watch.
Oh, yeah.
I think she'll probably enjoy it. The story is fun. It's
the
not
whole game
fun.
is really good. I think she'd enjoy playing it, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's such a good game.
Yeah, it's classic Rockstar. It's good. And it's nice open world, and it's a believable world. Yeah, so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm still playing The Division, not as much recently because I started playing Stardew Valley.
All right.
Last week. I'm getting near 30 hours already.
On Stardew?
On Stardew
And that's
Valley.
a $20 game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many hours on Division?
Almost 40 or more.
All
yeah,
right. So you're like halfway there.
I capped. I'm level 30 now. I'm just.
But you're like halfway to your $1 per hour.
Oh yes.
Speaking of, we were talking earlier. You said you did your little review last time, and you never really mentioned the dollar.
What is the $1 per hour for that game? So I spent $80 on that. I don't recommend that at all. I gave it a review. It was in the notes for those who were checked it out. $30 to $35 I think is probably reasonable for that game.
Right.
As it stands, there's a lot of things coming for it. Now they are downloadable content, so you will have to buy it.
Right.
And so hopefully the game will be better. But still, even with that downloadable content, even if it's $40 or $50, that would include all that downloadable content.
Okay.
So there you go. All right, let's get into some of the articles. Now, How do you want to start? Because we didn't even actually talk about how we were going to organize this.
Doesn't matter.
All right.
What order are they in there?
I didn't throw any of yours up. So this was one that I thought was kind of interesting. I wanted to kind of throw out there. So Punch Club is a game that came out. This article is from Gama Sutra.
Is the first rule you don't talk about Punch Club?
No.
Oh, okay.
So they surpassed 300,000 copies sold as of when this came out at the end of March 21st.
All right.
But 1.6 million pirated.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is a good article. You should anybody should read this. It's interesting because it really kind of opens the light on pirating. We tend to associate people who are pirating as people who are just flat out stealing the game.
Right.
But there's a lot more to it than just that. For example, they were talking about how when the game finally released in Portuguese, how the number of purchases and pirates in countries where Portuguese was a predominantly spoken language, like shot up, like a crazy amount. So suddenly it's available in the language, then they start pirating it, and it's very common. They mention, and actually on the Casual Shenanigans, they had somebody write in that who was from Brazil, where pirating is very common down there because of the cost of games, because of the cost of living down there. Games still cost the same because they can't change the price of games.
Right.
Or I would just
like online games and
right.
whatnot, yeah.
Because if they did do that, I mean, you can do it with a hard copy, but with digital copies, I can just get an IP changer whatever thing, and purchase it in Brazil.
An IP.
Yeah. What?
An IP changer thingy.
I don't know what they're called because I don't use them. But you could purchase it in Brazil for a hell of a deal and be able to use it here, and it's like,
yeah.
So the problem is that their cost of living is so low, and they don't make a lot of money in Brazil. So a game could very feasibly be almost a month's worth or 3/4 of a month's worth of income for the average family.
Yeah.
And I mean, to think about that.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where it's like, well,
like a $500 game, a $1,000 game, you know.
And we're talking about dollar per hour. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
It better be Warlock.
This article doesn't go into that as much as the email that was sent to the Casual Shenanigans, but it's interesting to think about that sometimes pirating is not necessarily just about I'm just trying to screw over the developers or anything like that. Sometimes there's bigger machinations involved that some of these people want to or are willing to purchase the game, but it's just not reasonable. It's just not feasible. We live in a pretty privileged area. We are #privileged.
It's true.
Yeah. So, but it's a good article. This article does not go into that as much, but it's interesting to think, to look at how deep this kind of goes.
Do you know what the price point is for the game?
For Punch Club?
Yeah.
$20, $15, something in that range.
Yeah, because 5 times as many were pirated as sold.
Well, in some of the countries, like for example, this is top pirated countries on the PC when the Portuguese localization launched. Okay,
right.
So when it came out in that language, Poland had 17 purchased and 661
pirated.
Yeah, that's weird how it's written. It's like got a comma and then 2 zeros at the end. So it looks like...
That's probably a decimal point, but I don't know why they would format it that way.
Yeah, so at first, the whole time I was thinking 661,000, but that doesn't seem right. So it must be 66,000, and they just must be putting a comma in a weird spot.
Maybe it's just just formatted wrong because they all have the .00.
So it might be 661. Is it a point?
It is.
We're both getting too old. It's a decimal point, so 661.
It's just weird. There's no need to have that there. It's not like there's going to be
it's not
a quarter of a thing was like they just pirated a quarter of one game.
Yeah. They started installing it, but then didn't install it. Do you have your articles right at hand?
I have one of them. I can grab the other one really quick.
Okay.
So the GDC 2016, the virtual reality games, they reviewed a couple of them. And one of the most interesting things, I don't know if you got a chance to read the article, and it's interesting, but the most interesting thing is this company, CCP, where is it? So they did 2 development teams, one in Atlanta, one in Shanghai. I know that's really important, but they started creating short VR experiences to see how gamers liked them and then built games from there. One of the most popular games is an Eve type game. There's a screenshot if you scroll down or if you're looking at the article, Eve Valkyrie, as a VR game. I mean, imagine that as virtual reality. You know what I mean? It's a really interesting little article just talking about kind of how these companies are going about developing. Because number one, you can't guarantee that just because somebody buys a VR headset means they're a hardcore gamer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not necessarily they're, you know, a 60-hour-a-week, you know, Battlefront guy, you know, like, or whatever game, you know, or they've played through Skyrim a half dozen times, you know, like 500 hours each playthrough, whatever crazy numbers are out there. Like, they could just be people that are looking for a different kind of, you know, leisure experience, and maybe VR is the thing. So both the companies they mentioned in the article did kind of similar things where they're doing these little projects instead, and like kind of putting them out there and utilizing them to see how people respond. Because just because Skyrim and like Call of Duty and whatever are big video games now, they're looking at it as, we don't know what the big video games are going to be for VR, because it's a very different thing.
Right.
Because motion can be very distracting. Like, if you are checking, like looking behind you all the time, it's going to make you ill. You know, you're going to become nauseous from it because of the way like, for whatever reason, like,
right.
it causes people to become ill. So they're like, one of the things they mentioned is trying to find more games where there's an emotional connection. Like, maybe you're trapped in a haunted house, which might make you look around less. Maybe that's not the great one. They don't cite that. Then it's more of like a journey exploration thing, as opposed to like a fast-paced, like, what the hell's behind me kind of game. But interesting little article, you know. Who knows? Like, it made me really think about, because before I was kind of thinking about it that way, like, what games that I play now will be on VR headsets? And now I'm more thinking, what kind of games are going to be on VR headsets? And I no longer have a predetermined thing. Like, how much is that going to change gaming? What are games that are going to work?
I know that one of the things that that a lot of people are talking about in terms of VR gaming right now has to do around the fact that you could sit down at a computer and play Warlock or Civilizations for hours and hours and hours. And at this point, that's not something feasible that you can do with VR.
Right.
Because you will get tired, and there will be a lot more eye strain, and some people do get sick using VR. And so you're actually looking at a much shorter amount of time that you're going to be capturing that audience.
Right.
And so it is interesting that they're going this route. And to be perfectly honest, room scale is interesting, but a lot of VR, I think, is going to be heading in a direction where your character is stuck in a particular location, like inside the cockpit of a ship, or something like that, where you don't actually move around a lot. You're manipulating an object, and your head is then available to move around. But I know also they had mentioned on GDC that I thought was interesting is the idea that one of the ways you could use VR would be you'd put the headset on to play a game that is not a VR game. But instead of the game just being on the screen like it would normally be, you would be in a VR environment on a chair or whatever with a 19-foot screen in front of you.
Right.
And it would be that kind of an experience where now your VR space is a virtual reality living room with your gigantic screen TV that you're playing a non-VR game on.
Yeah, no, I see that.
And then the other kinds of things, if you had room scale, would be, let's say you're on the other side of the country.
Explain room scale.
Room scale is like the Vive, where you can get up and move around and interact with your environment.
That's what I figured. I just wanted to make it clear for anyone who's listening.
Yes. Which was actually one of the notes we got, was sometimes we talk about things that some people might not be familiar with.
Yep.
So if that ever happens, please let us know, because we'll extol you on the things that we do know.
Explain extol. Just kidding.
Nice. But also, then utilizing room scale, we could be on different sides of the ocean, the Atlantic, and you could have a room scale VR, and I could have a room scale VR, and it would be tracking your body movements and tracking my body movements, and we're playing a multiplayer game, and I can just look over in my VR and see you sitting over there next to me, or an avatar of you.
And it would make you cry.
And I would reach out to try to touch you, but I couldn't touch you. Oh, I thought you were going to say something about, like, the lawyer your attorney has said that I'm not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah, but your lawyer said I can't bring up the...
Oh, sorry.
Never mind, just kidding. Look at the brownies.
I know, they're tasty. I hope. and they won't kill us.
I hope.
Look, AMD wants to install something too.
I told, his
It's
computer
super
is
excited.
wants to install everything or update everything.
There was a PC Gamer article I'm gonna touch on. Square Enix offered Tomb Raider 2013 for a $1 donation to charity and ran out of keys.
Really?
Yeah, this PC Gamer didn't do it, but the article was on it.
Right.
They ran out of keys. Like,
That's nice.
it was supposed to go for like a month. Or I'm sorry, for like a week and a half. They ran out in like 48 hours.
Well, do you know how many keys it was?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they go into the. I just thought it was. I thought it was interesting because it came across my feed and I was like, oh well, I own that game, so I'm not interested.
Yeah, I
But,
own it too.
Yeah.
I kind of thought the same thing. I'm like, for $1, you know. But
This one just came up. Everybody's Gone to Rapture is confirmed for the PC. That was a PC Gamer article. You
All
might
right.
not know of that game, but I'm excited about that game. It's kind of a walking simulator, sort of Gone Home-ish type game. So,
All right.
so it's a game right up my alley. This isn't really video game related, but Studio Ghibli, GHIBLI, their animation software is going to be free or has gone free now at this point. That's
All
the
right.
same animation software that is used for Futurama, a number of animes that are out there.
All
So
right.
that's actually pretty cool because if you utilize some of that stuff for cutscenes, there are now with Unity being, Unity and some of the other engine developers that exist out there, you could make a pretty nice looking game for relatively inexpensive.
nice.
Which, if you've got good talent behind it, could be pretty awesome. So
Sweet.
I think that's cool. What's your other article?
Well, yesterday on March 31st, the PlayStation 2 servers went down forever. 16 years. I mean, it makes sense because they're now on the PS4, so why support that many generations back? And I'm guessing there's probably not a large amount of people that play.
I would be interested to know how many people are really upset about this. I'm not upset. I don't care.
But you don't even own you don't
And-
own any PlayStation.
And that's the thing. Like, how many people? This is the reality. This is the reality of a lot of gaming that utilizes servers. This is something I've actually thought a lot about because of Tom Clancy's The Division.
yeah,
It's an always online game.
right.
The reality of that is that eventually, probably about 15 years down the road, those servers will not exist anymore. And because of that, that game will be unplayable.
Right.
But will I be playing it in 15 years? And what does that mean for... Like, I could go out, I could potentially find an Atari or an old Nintendo with games at a garage sale or at a flea market or something,
Oh, yeah.
and play it and get a nice nostalgia retro game. There might be people who are even interested in seeing something like that streamed on Twitch.
Right.
But the reality is that 15 years from now, things like The Division won't be playable.
Probably.
And so gaming as an art form, when you're talking about this kind of stuff, is it, how do you save this type of stuff? How do you keep it going? And is it worth it?
Well, there's an MMO I played that they eventually took the servers down, and I'm still a little like, damn it.
Yeah.
Like, there's still part of me that probably once a year would have like ponied up for a month just to go play
for a little bit.
Yeah, I had like all these max level characters. I had a lot of fun playing the game. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I would never be able to play it like I did. I don't think. But yeah, so I'm sure there's some people out there playing. Some people can't afford the newest system.
Mhm.
And that doesn't change just because. Maybe now they go get a PS3, but those aren't dirt cheap.
It would be interesting to know when the servers go down if there's any uptick in their sales for their next, like the PlayStation 3.
I bet it's probably hard to track though with used sales and whatnot. But with modern, the way
The world works now.
maybe they already know.
There's been a heck of a lot more mentions of the word PlayStation on Twitter for some reason.
But I doubt it affected a ton of people, but it affected some gamers, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
There were still some people that were playing some old games because, going back and playing Red Dead is a rarity for me, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, I stick like it's the next game.
But you can do it. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas if it was an always online game, it's possible that you could be getting to the point where you might not be able to soon.
Yeah.
So
My last hurrah with City of Heroes, the MMO I played, was because I like was looking into it because every now and again I got the itch,
Mhm.
and then I realized it was like going down in like a month.
And so you were like, I better play
and it was
this.
free to play for everybody at that stage.
Right.
You know, all you just logged in. But yeah, so me and my brother-in-law jumped on and played a little bit, and ran around and remembered all our characters, and it was fun. And God damn it, now it's gone.
Yeah, it's those type of things where you'd almost wish that the companies would give people an option to create their own servers,
Right.
or
The problem with that though is with an MMO, there's all those existent characters for all those different people.
yes.
So there's a lot of information that has to be housed. You know what I
Somewhere,
mean?
right.
Right.
Yep.
A lot, I'm sure.
It's the reality of the situation is that it's a pipe dream to think that something like that could happen. But I guess you have your memories,
It's true. Fading every day.
fading every day, getting older. We're going to skip this one because we need to move on. Let's go ahead and hit the... Do you want to hit the a Humble Bundle after the interview?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Should we go to the interview?
Let's go to the interview.
Did we have James and Justin run the interview again?
Yeah, actually, I guess so.
Shit. All right.
Hey, folks, we are Dollarwise Gamers, of course. We are here with members of Dire Nerd Studios. We've got Nick and we've got Corey. Why don't you guys say hi?
Hey.
Hi.
All right. So we have been talking with... I started talking with you, Nick, probably months ago, end of last year, right? We were talking about some stuff you had going on.
Yeah, I think it was last fall, or even, late summer. It was a while ago that we started talking.
So kind of tell me... We started talking... There was a game that you started working on. Now you're working on a different one. Tell me a little bit about Dire Nerd Studios, what you guys are doing, what you're working on. And that is a very broad question.
Yeah. It's a little broad. I guess we can give a little bit of a history. So we actually started just about 2 years ago. And from my perspective, one day Corey just comes and leans on my door frame and says, like, "Hey, how'd you like to run the business for this game?" But I guess, Corey, on your side, you reached out to a couple people you went to college with.
Yeah. So Tom, our other coder, and another guy that was part of our company before, Fenton, we went to school together. And so for our senior design project, we had designed a brawler fighter game inspired by Super Smash Bros., but for the Xbox platform. And so that was kind of our senior design project. We worked on that for a whole year and got it to a point that we were, happy enough with it for a school project, but not ready for release. And we'd always kind of planned to go back to it, but sadly enough, we actually lost the source code for it. And so, we'd always kind of wanted to go back and work on a game. And so one day I just called him and was like, "Hey guys, like, it's been a while. Like, what do you think about like actually giving this a go?" And then of course, like all indie development studios, decided that our first game should be something way out of our own scope. So we worked on that for a while, and it was kind of a Metroidvania roguelike game, which can be nice and simple or can sprawl wildly out of control on you. And so we worked on that for about a year, and then Fenton just had some other personal things that came up that he needed to switch and work on. And so we took some time to reevaluate and went, we're farther than that. We were like 15 months in, and we're like, I don't think we are within a year out, and we just lost one of our coders. Is this something that we really think that we can still deliver at the same level that we want to deliver at? And we decided, maybe it's time to just shelve this for a while and work on something that we think is more within our scope at our new development team size. And Nick and I had just previous to that, by about a month, been talking about game ideas, as we often do, and Gotta Go had come up and was one that we thought was really fun. We decided that, hey, let's switch over to that. I think that's something that's more within our scope for a first release. And so we pivoted over to that. We've been working on that ever since.
So I've talked to a few indie developers, and it's refreshing to hear from developers who can step back and say, maybe this is a little bit too big for us right now. Let's start with something smaller. And it's one of those advices I always give. I don't make games, but if I did, you would want to start small, start with something simple.
Right.
So Gotta Go, you had kindly sent us a pre-alpha build, right?
Yes.
So we got a chance to play Gotta Go. Tell us about Gotta Go.
Yeah, I guess, well, start with history once again, because that's sort of where it came from. So Corey mentioned we started talking about Gotta Go about a month before we actually made the switch from Tavern to Gotta Go, and it all coincided about the time Fenton decided to leave the team. But it was actually like the last day of PAX, so we went to PAX Prime. We weren't exhibiting anything; we love going. That's a fun event to.
Yeah.
to
By
get
the
to
way,
participate.
lucky you. We'd love to go to one of those.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, they're super, super fun. I'd highly recommend you try to make your way. You guys are in Chicago, right? So you're not near any one of them.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah, we're right here in Seattle, so it's really easy. We just get to hop in the car and drive. We can be home at the end of the day. But anyhow, we went to PAX and having a lot of fun. One of our favorite things to go look at is the Indie Mega booth, which I'm sure you're aware. The Indie Mega booth sort of grabs a large portion of space at these events that would otherwise be held by AAA studios, and then they show 20 or so smaller games like ourselves, hopefully someday. And so we talking about all those, and it was the end of the day, and we're tired, so we decided we're going to drive through Taco Bell of all places. And that food can be a little rough on the stomach. Yeah. And I am someone who's suffered from irritable bowel syndrome since I was a kid. So we're sitting there in the drive-through line, and I'm sort of making a premonition about my morning the next day. I worked at a large retailer, and I was talking about how horrible it was going to be for me to try to make my way across the store and avoid coworkers and customers with an urgent call of nature. And so we started talking about that, and Corey just snapped his fingers, pointed at me, and went, "That's your game right there." So that very night we went home, and I think for 3 hours straight we just giant whiteboard plotted out a million different ideas, like something out of a beautiful mind, just a giant flurry of pens and ideas floating everywhere. And then we actually sat on that for a while, like Corey said, about a month. We sort of fleshed it out a little bit before bringing it to the rest of the team, which was then at that point Tom and Mike. They ruminated on that for a little bit before we decided to make the transition. Tavern had sprawled on us so much that something like Gotta Go, which was going to be a lot more within our grasp, to deliver a solid product that people would actually have a chance to play and enjoy, it worked out well.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, so what's your release schedule look like for that?
At the moment, we're aiming for fall of 16. So
okay.
We're hoping around about August or September. So start to finish, about 11-month development horizon.
All right. And what platform is it going to be on? Is it just going to be on PC or?
Yeah, to begin with, we're aiming to release on PC. Hopefully, we are able to get into Steam, and that'll help us use Steam as a delivery platform.
And Mac as well.
Yeah. And Mac as well.
Yeah.
But we are developing in Unity, so the possibility of it eventually being ported to other devices is absolutely there. It just depends on how well received it is, and whether or not we have the resources to continue expanding and pushing it out to other platforms.
Does Unity allow you to? I don't know. I know it's a game engine, but I don't know the specifics on it. Does it allow you to port to like Android and iPhones and things like that relatively easily?
So yeah, there's a lot of possibility there. So that's something that I think we'll have to try and reevaluate a little bit farther into our development cycle. But yeah, I mean, just the sheer range of devices, Xbox or PlayStation or things like that. A lot of it just comes down to the kind of the politics of getting onto those platforms and things like that too. So it's an exciting possibility.
I suppose it's important. I guess we put the cart a little further than the horse. I don't think we really explained what Gotta Go is or how it's played.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and do that?
So Gotta Go is a game you play as Gus, who is a new employee at a large 1990s era software development firm. Think something like Office Space, for example, as a good example of what we're aiming for. And he's got an urgent call of nature, but since he's brand new, he doesn't know where the facilities are. And all of his coworkers want to talk to him. His boss has something for him to do, and he has to navigate through the office trying to find his way on a very, very tight time schedule. So you have a pressure gauge which counts down your time, and you gotta make your way through the office.
Or else.
Or else, indeed.
Or else.
Yeah, so you're trying to dodge your coworkers, and if you can't manage to dodge them, then you're trying to get through the conversations. Oh yeah, shut up, Karen, I don't care. Like I'm just that sort of thing. So yeah, we tried to capture some of that urgency in the gameplay itself and the core gameplay loop there.
So, really quick, for any developers that might listen to this interview, going from the original game where you felt like maybe you there was so much to do, there was so much time ahead of you before completion, to a game that was better in your scope as far as getting it completed in a quicker time frame, did that add a lot more fun to the project for you guys again?
Yeah, I think anytime you start a new well, at least for me, I'm very development minded, not just code development, but like game design oriented. So I really love coming up with systems and, oh man, we could have this, we could have that. So anytime I'm starting something new, that definitely gets me jazzed up. But yeah, I think having something more in scope definitely had less of those days where, I've been working on the game for a couple hours and I go to look at the to-do list and just go, oh my gosh, that is a to-do list right there. And when you're working on a bigger project, there's just so much more you have to get up and running before you can really see where the fun's at. So I think that's been something that I would definitely recommend to other early in their career developers, is to, get to a place where you can find the fun and iterate on it as soon as possible in your project.
I would just go so far as to say I think that was one of our fatal flaws in the development of Tavern, was that we didn't have something that we could play early on. It took a lot to get the systems in place to a place where even you had a character running. But I think for Gotta Go, we had a playable demo for ourselves within a month. And so we were able to then implement additional systems and add, right, and wax the product rather than sort of trying to feel our way through the dark with Tavern. Especially I'm strictly non-technical. I don't have any coding skills. I try to do a lot of the quality assurance stuff now. I'll test and I'll run social media and I'll do accounting and sort of catch all for all the stuff that doesn't require lines of code. But without something to touch and feel, it definitely felt like we were spinning our wheels at times. So having something in front of you, not only does it help you iterate, as Corey said, but it really galvanizes the team, because you can look and say, look what we've done, look where we're going, what do we need next?
So speaking about what you need next, what with the development schedule, what else do you want to add to the game, that your vision for the game to go to?
Yeah, I think our next steps. Let's see, what was I working on today? I was doing controller support. So as far as stuff we have left, I think we have most of our core features in at this point. We have kind of our almost an economy of your resources, if you will, not in the RTS sense of resources, but you have your time gauge, and we also have another gauge that gauges your strange behavior through the office as you're running around and trying to hide in bushes to avoid your coworkers and such.
I think, did you label that your HR gauge or something?
Yeah,
human resources.
That's our working title at the moment. As it's, I think when it gets to the very top, you get fired by HR for just being such a weirdo in the office. So we've been rounding out those feature sets. So now our things that we're down to is kind of some of our areas where our Kickstarter will come into effect for things that we ourselves do not have within our team. And a lot of teams don't have the breadth of people on their team to get, say, music. We don't have any musicians on our team. So we need to find some lovely outside musicians to collaborate with on our project and things like that. So most of the things that we have left are those sort of outside things that we have a lot of ideas in mind. We just got to find that right person and, get the funds to actually pay them to work on it, because we want to reward them for their good work they're going to do for us. So I think those are kind of our biggest things left, are the polishing and getting quality sound assets, and some more of our kind of UI and art assets worked out, which our artist Mike is doing a great job on.
Excellent. So some good solid fart sounds for the game. We're going to need that for
Indeed.
Sure. So have you guys given any thought to price point? I mean, I know it's a little early. You're talking, summer, late summer. Do you guys have any idea?
Yeah, we've definitely been tossing around a couple different ideas. We've also done some research into what what the best ideas would be. A lot of people are talking about online, generally speaking with other devs or people who are running the business for other dev studios, seem to hold a lot of stock in speaking with Steam. So if we were to get onto Steam, we'd like to consult with them on what their best price point would be. Apparently that's sort of the way to go. We sort of have our vision set on $5. I kind of think it'd be fun to have it be $6 because you flip $6 over and it looks like poo. And we've been trying to work with a couple different charities to try to, our game is goofy as all get out, no doubts about that. But I think there's an opportunity for us to try to kick a little bit back and help some people in need. So we're working with a couple different charities I can't really name at the moment, but if we're able to get partnerships with them, I think we might have to bump the price point up just a little bit so that we can make the margin and kick money back towards them. But $5 seems to be where we're aiming at the moment.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's important to think about that. When you're thinking about the scope of your game, if you're saying, "Oh, I'm going to make a game that costs $2 and it's going to be just as big as StarCraft 2," well, that's a mistake. You're not going to recoup
You're not going to make any money on that.
Yeah, and if you're making a really small game and you're like, it's going to cost $60, well, then nobody's going to buy it. So I think it's an important thing to at least have a general scope of how much your game's going to cost the people playing it.
So that's actually pretty good to hear. Obviously, we're Dollarwise Gamers. That's the name of the podcast. And I don't know how much you've listened to the podcast in the past, but we have this concept of $1 per hour of entertainment out of games. Now,
Right.
Typically that goes for the top-tier AAA $60 titles. Getting at least an hour's worth, or 60 hours worth of time out of a $60 game. When we were testing it, James and I actually had a little bit of a discussion as to what we would be willing to pay for a game, and we were talking about right around that $5 for a game like this, and then depending on what those sale prices are, would push us into that where that I feel like it would be at that $1 per hour.
Right.
So.
Right.
So that's nice. At least you're not like, oh yeah, it's going to be a $20 game.
Yeah, of course.
We're
And
getting rich.
I love that idea too, because that's very much how I make my game purchases. Right, is I do look at it that way, and my go-to has always been, is it better than a movie? Right? Is it better?
Yep.
Price per time than a movie, which movies are so expensive now that's probably not even a good scale anymore. But I love your thinking about how many hours of fun am I going to get out of this,
Yep.
right?
Now,
and I think that's such a good way to look at it.
And the other thing we do take into account, especially indie developers, because we love indie developers. They can take the most risks. They can have a lot. They can make ingenious games that no one's ever thought about, like trying to get to the toilet without pooping your pants.
Someday I'm going to do it, Justin.
One of these days. And so we love indie developers, and one of the things we always do say is, yeah, you should be looking for that $1 per hour, but you should also be looking to support the people and the developers and the publishers that you want to support. And so if that means throwing a couple extra bucks, especially if you guys say, hey, listen, it's $6, but $2 of this or $1 of this or goes to a
50 cents
charity
or
or
whatever
50
it is,
cents
yeah.
goes to a charity. Those types of things matter. And it's cool to see that you're already thinking about those kinds of things.
As Corey said, we try to design the game to fit a scope that makes sense for where we would like to sell the game price point wise. And for something like Gotta Go, where you can look on the Steam store today and you'll find a number of games that are silly like ours, right? A lot of them are very, very low price point because at least our perception is that generally speaking, you might be willing to take a risk on a game that looks goofy at an extremely low price point. But the higher that price point gets, the more you as a customer will say, oh my gosh, I cannot even possibly envision, to use your example, can't envision using $20 of my money to do a game where all I'm doing is running to the bathroom. If I want to run to the bathroom, I'll just do it in real life.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna one of our biggest listeners, actually, Sherbets is their name, and they listen to basically all the episodes. So they had sent us a paragraph of questions to ask you. Some of them are pretty in depth. So as we're running a little long on time here, we're only going to shoot through a couple of these, and we'll see kind of how it goes. So
Sure.
this one I thought was pretty interesting. Sherbets wanted to know, what's your least favorite trend in video game design? And to kind of illustrate that, they said that personally for them it's cookie clicker and games like that kind of follow this idle increment game, and they're not a big fan of it and wanted to know what yours weren't, the ones you weren't a fan of.
Yeah, I already know what Corey's is going to be.
I was actually going to surprise you.
Oh.
So one thing I was thinking about, so the one Nick is thinking of would be, I'm not a huge fan of some types of free-to-play. So I mentioned I was playing PlanetSide earlier, and PlanetSide's a free-to-play game. But I feel that the way they've gone about it is, we made a really fun game, and if you want to look cool, you can throw us some bucks, because, you play this game a lot. Toss us $5 to get a really cool looking suit or tank or whatever it is, right? And I really like that style of free to play. I'm not as much a fan of the, hey, we made a fun game and then we made it unfun unless you give us money every time you want to open that chest or make that thing build quicker or that sort of thing. And as a designer, that sort of thing always gets to me as like, oh, you had this great game and then you broke it on purpose. Like,
Yeah.
And I totally understand why they do it. But I feel like it's a thing where you've designed a thing that can only work by kind of getting those people who have a hard time saying no to it. It's only sustainable by extorting people, not directly, but through just taking advantage of them a little bit. And so that's the thing Nick's thinking of. But something that I just recently had thought of that annoys me is the clones. We've been playing, there's a game called Clash Royale made by Supercell, and it's only been out for like 2 weeks, and we've really been digging it. It's actually like a really fun to play, free to play. And we looked on the App Store, and there's like 10 clones of it already, and it's only been like 3 weeks. And it's just crazy how fast they can crank out some of those clone games. And so that's something where I'm kind of like, oh, that kind of sucks. You're kind of, just riding their coattails. And so it's especially as an indie studio where like, we can't afford to just, we're just going to outmarket you or whatever. If we made a game and then 2 weeks later somebody else makes 3 different clones of it, that's going to diminish our sales to the point where it's not sustainable for us to make things like that, right? So that's something that kind of, I guess there's always been clone games, but the speed at which they come out is somewhat surprising to me these days.
Yeah, my answer to that same question is a bit of a quagmire, so I won't be able to expand on it that much. But I'm not a huge fan of the early access trend. I think a lot of games do it really well. One that I like to use as a great example, hopefully you guys have played it, Crawl. Maybe a year, or maybe it's been 2 at this point. It came out, it went early access, and when it came out in early access, it was actually ready to play, really, really good. They just continued to expand content, but the core of content was there. That core was fairly well polished. They just kind of added to the outsides and made it bigger and better post early access. There's lots of games that have come out, and I don't want to use any specific examples because I don't want to call anyone out, but there are games that come out and it's early access. You load it up and you play for 5 minutes and you realize there's no content there. They basically just put together a few things in the engine so you can run around and you can smack a tree or whatever it is, but there's only 2 recipes to build something out of the tree you cut down, and then you're done. And you have to wait for early access to expand. And the problem there that I have is there's no way to tell from the outside, really. You can try to watch a trailer and gauge if it's at a point where the play would be fun in early access, but it's something of a crapshoot.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's like a tricky pre-order trap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so 2 more of the last questions that we have, and then you are free to go, okay? All right. So the first one is one of James's favorite ones to ask.
Yeah. If you were to tell someone, okay, you love this game, you're gonna love Gotta Go. What's that game?
So this is a tough question for us in that people ask us what genre is it? Is it an FPS? Is it an RPG? And we're like, well, no, it's not either of those. It's what's our working one we've been going with lately? Stealth. Don't poop your pants simulator.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it draws a lot on the humor. So humor is obviously one of those things where it's hard to say like, oh, if you thought this was, like, I guess if you could say if you thought this was funny, you'll think that was funny. But it's definitely plays a little bit on the humor, on just the lightheartedness, and I guess to some extent for the gameplay, we try to go for that kind of pick up and play arcade feel. So Vlambeer has been one of our inspirations, in that a lot of their games just have a great mechanic and just work well with the mechanic and don't try to be 15 different things. They try to do one. But as far as actually just like one game, that's actually a really hard question for me. I don't know. Do you have a good answer, Nick?
No, I don't. You took all my talking points. It's definitely we wanted to capture that pick up and play feel. It's something that someone can pick up for 20 minutes, half an hour, and come back to it, right? And so we're hoping that, to fit your Dollarwise equation, it's something that someone can have in their library. And shoot, I got 15 minutes before work. I'm going to see how many offices I can make it through without staining my pants. Over a long time horizon, I think lots of people are going to get far more than the 5 hours that would be required to make your equation. But I don't think we pair well with any game. It's very, very hard for me to think of one that parallels what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of final question here, I guess. Are you guys looking to do a beta in the future? And is there any other way, like a beta test with actually, with more people beyond the people that are close to you? And beyond that, is there anything else that, our listeners can do to kind of help in, you guys getting this game out there?
I think as far as beta goes, we're not planning to do like early access or anything like that. I think the closest would be we've talked about during Kickstarters. A lot of times they'll have the, okay, if you give us X amount of money, you'll get the game when it comes out. And if you give us just a tad more to like show that you're really like, I really want to be involved in this. And it's kind of a mean thing to do in one way, to say, you're even more dedicated than somebody who just wants to see it come out. You want to be involved, but they'll put a slightly higher price point just to that kind of like, all right, not to doubt you, but kind of, prove it a little bit. And sometimes they'll invite people like that to a closed alpha group. So that's something that we've talked about maybe doing. But as far as like an early access, we're not planning to try and have that development loop be super long, just because we want to try and get it out to people. So that, as far as the beta play, that would be my kind of thoughts on that, is that it might be an option during our Kickstarter.
All right.
Yeah, but speaking of ways that your listeners and anyone really could help us out, is when we do get to Kickstarter, tell your friends about it. Help us back the project. Same goes for Greenlight, right? Greenlight is our golden gateway to getting onto Steam, and that's going to be our best possible way to get the game distributed to a wide audience. So helping us with that, just that little thumbs up, goes a really long way.
All right.
Awesome. Excellent. Okay, so we can find you guys where? Where can we find you?
Darn near anywhere the internet goes. Corey makes the joke that when we come to the end of one of our Twitch streams, I go on for about a minute about all the different social media outlets you can find us on. We're on Twitter, just at Dire Nerd Studios. We're online, our own website, direnerdstudios.com. You can follow us on Twitch. I think it's just Dire Nerd Studios. Mm-hmm. YouTube is Dire Nerd Studios. Facebook is Dire Nerd Studios. I think we're on Reddit. We're on Pinterest. We're on Instagram. We have a fair few channels. So whatever your social media outlet of choice or whatever you like to do, you can find us there.
All right. So Google Dire Nerd Studios and you'll probably be good.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think we're like the first 30 results or something.
Yeah,
That's kind of like Dollarwise Gamers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
good name selection.
Let us know as things continue to develop. We will always retweet for you anything. We will let you know when this episode comes out and everything. But it was great having you guys on. Thank you very much. All of the links for all of their stuff, or as many as I can fit in the info bar underneath, I will add. But you will be able to find all of those below the video or below the podcast if you are on Libsyn or on YouTube. And Corey, Nick, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Indeed.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you guys. It's been
Justin,
great talking to you.
James, thanks for having us on.
Of course. Well, Dire Nerd Studio is pretty awesome with that, but I think James and Justin kind of tanked that whole thing.
Yeah, you know what? If they were being paid, we would have to fire them.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
because, I mean, they're just basically a drain on all things.
Yeah.
You know?
If that happens, can I totally fire James?
Oh yeah.
Sweet,
Oh yeah. Definitely.
sweet. Maybe I'll make him cry.
That would be awesome.
Awesome.
All right.
We'll see that. We'll see. But thanks to Dire Nerd Studios.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that game to come out.
Yeah, that looks cool.
Gotta go get it.
Nice.
See what I did there?
Nice. But no, that's exciting. Please go check out their game. Please show them some love. And, you know, if it's something that's right up your alley when you take a look at it when it finally comes out this fall, I believe, if I remember correctly, then check it out. You know, show them some love. Help them out.
All right. Well, shall we go through this?
Let's do this. I'm
All
very
right.
excited about some of these, and I haven't even had a chance to really look at it. So,
All right. Well, this will be good. Okay. So the first one that pops up is Nuclear Throne.
Yes.
Humanity is extinct, and mutants and monsters now roam the world. Fight your way through the wastelands with powerful weaponry, collecting radiation to mutate some new limbs and abilities.
Yeah, I believe it's like a 2D platformer. Yes. Yeah, it's sort of 2D platformer, roguelite sort of game.
Looking very old school.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited about this. This is a very popular game, especially on Twitch right now. A person that I know, I like to say a friend of mine, but I don't know how many people that like I know via like Twitter and stuff. If that's an appropriate thing to call somebody a friend, if you interact with them a lot on Twitter. But I would consider if I hung out with them as much as I do. Anyway,
a digital friend.
Yeah, a digital friend. Yeah, Toast Sapper has liked this game, has played this game, I believe.
All right.
I've streamed with him a couple of times.
Nice.
So yeah.
So 88 Metacritic, overwhelmingly positive on Steam, and a 9 out of 10 on IGN. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so renowned explorers become a famous expedition leader in Renowned Explorers and explore the world full of secrets and treasure.
So what's really weird is this is actually on my Steam wish list,
Yeah, nice.
and just went on sale today.
Really?
Yeah, really weird. Like I got an email from Steam, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of an interesting game. I don't know why it's on my wish list, but you know, I must have chosen it at some point. But that's great. I don't need to buy it now."
You know, kind of old school graphics, not as old looking as the last one. I mean, there's nothing bad about it. It's just, you know,
retro style graphics.
Right.
Yeah.
Very positive on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything you know about this game?
Not at all. No, I've obviously came across it. I like to go through those queues every once in a while on Steam to see if there's anything that kind of catches my fancy.
Yeah.
And since the only choices are like, I never ever want to see this game again, I'm kind of interested in this game, or add it to my wish list.
Yeah.
It tends to just end up on my wish list a lot because I don't want information about it, but I don't want to like never ever see anything ever about it ever again.
Yeah.
And so like things just tend to end up on my wish list.
He's got 1,700 games on his wish
120
list.
or 30, I think, on my wish list. However, number one, No Man's
Warlock?
Sky.
Oh.
Yeah, Warlock.
If I can ever buy it again and have two copies running at the same time. Okay, so the next game is Nova 111. Pilot your trusty orange vessel through mysterious and foreign planets in this quirky sci-fi adventure.
That looks cute. I like the art style.
Very positive on Steam. No actual screenshots on this one to really kind of get a look at what it. I mean, unless this is actually from it.
Which, if it is, that's a nice art style.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
that
really
one's
nice
kind
art
of
style.
similar. The first one, no. I don't think the first one is.
No, I think
Yeah.
that's just.
But that looks
art.
similar to some of the art style. But anyways, next is The Magic Circle. You are the protagonist of an unfinished first-person fantasy game. Sounds very quirky.
Yeah.
8.5 on Destructoid, very positive on Steam, 80 out of 100 on Metacritic. You know, have you ever heard of this game
I have
before?
not. No. Yeah.
All right.
So, looks interesting.
It was an IGF Narrative Award nominee. I don't know what that means, but it sounds prestigious.
If it's a narrative award, I would have mentioned the story must be pretty good.
You'd think.
Yeah. Or at least interesting enough to earn it a narrative award. Nomination. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is Super Avalanche. Climb the falling blocks as you race to avoid the rising lava in this challenging platformer that features a wildly addictive single-player mode and hilariously fun co-op play.
So just looking at that art style and what you just read, it strikes me as overrated and not interesting. So
All right, well, you don't really like puzzle games like that?
not those kind of puzzle
Yeah.
games, like those kind of a lot of those Android style games.
Yeah.
You know, eh.
You know. All right. Next is South Park: The Stick of Truth, and anyone that paid early already got this, or just signed up for the first time for this month would have gotten this game already. But it's South Park: The Stick of Truth. 85 out of Metacritic, overwhelmingly positive on Steam, and 8.4 out of 10 on IGN. It's the South Park RPG.
Yeah, I've heard lots of good things about this.
Yeah.
It's definitely it was written by and basically created by the people who make South Park.
Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Yep. And they're actually working on a second one right now, which is going to be pretty much significantly different. Like, it's not in the same sort of genre. It's interesting. They were in an interview, one of them, I can't remember which one it was, and they mentioned right as they were getting to the end of making this game, like they were wrapping things up, they looked at each other and they were like, I think we finally understand how to make a game. Like, they're just now getting what they need to do to make a game. And so that they kind of learned, I feel like they were trying to get across that this second game will be more in line with like their vision and what. So that's interesting. It's interesting. And it's a good game in and of itself. So they probably had a good team behind them.
Nice. Okay, the second game that you would have gotten if you paid for this in advance or just started your subscription is This War of Mine. 83 on Metacritic, overwhelmingly positive on Steam, 8.4 on IGN, and this is a game you know well.
Yeah, I'm very interested in this game. I'm going to have it installed and start playing it right away. I've been looking at this game for a long time. It's got a nice, dark, edgy, sad, depressing sort of story.
Nice.
Which,
Sweet.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I like games that make me feel things, and make me feel, whether or not it's sad or happy or.
So I think you'd like Warlock more, because doesn't it make you feel frustration? Getting mixed messages from you.
No.
All right. Well, you are excited to get this, and did you pre-buy this bundle?
I did not. No, I have never pre-bought any of the bundles. I wait, and I'll tell you why, because I have so many freaking games to play.
Well, now you have more.
Now I have even more.
So then there's a couple humble originals.
Yep. So
games.
These are typically the indie games from indie developers. Let's keep going.
Yeah, Tailwind Prologue is the first one. You are the last survivor of an alien invasion that has all but destroyed your home world. Barely escaping the atmosphere in your ship, the Karavnos, you realize you do not have enough fuel to survive. You are going to die. Well, if this is your time, you might as well spend it doing what you do best. Aerial ballet.
Yeah. I would have said Karavnos.
So it looks a very indie, very like visually stunning kind of game, unique look.
Nice. It looks like a really good art style. I would venture to guess, just judging by what it looks like, the sound design is probably very good too.
Yeah, it looks like it would be.
Yes. It doesn't look like a game that I would like, but it looks like a game that is good.
All right.
So.
And that is like, I think Humble Monthly is good at doing that.
Yes.
They put a whole bunch of good games together, and
they might not be games that you necessarily like. Right. And we've been kind of back and forth on the fence, but I think that we've kind of fallen finally on the side of the Humble Monthly is worth it. In general, every single month, you should drop the $12 and get it. We haven't been overly disappointed.
Yeah.
And it's only $12.
Yeah.
So
and even if you don't play it, your collection is getting better. Like,
just by having it.
When tastes change, you know what I mean? Like, the kind of game you like today is not probably the same kind of game you'll play in 3 years. Unless all you do is buy Madden and every version of Call of Duty. That's what you do, and that's how you like your gameplay, and that's fine. But if you've been doing that for the last 8 years, then you'll probably be doing that in 5 more years. But if, for me, like the type of games I like progress, maybe I'll be coming back to a bunch of these games and being like, man, dude, did you ever play Strict Bold? Or Strike Bold, or whatever it is?
A dodgeball
adventure.
Oh, man.
It's a single and local multiplayer dodgeball game heavily inspired by the 70s and its athletes.
Oh,
all right. To heroic sportsmanship of the era.
Okay, then.
So the early unlock for next month is Mad Max.
Wow.
That's a pretty recent game. Let's take a peek at that one really quick.
Yeah, so, wow, I'm surprised that's what it is, because most of the ones that at least, well, I guess it's probably been close to a year for that. I'm surprised.
Yeah. I probably should have selected that's PS4. Okay, so just looking at the Metacritic really quick, it came out in late 2015. Meta of 73, user of 7.7, not bad.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's a solid game in the 70s.
It's an action game. And let's see what.
I've heard the movie was really good.
I
Haven't seen it?
No, I have. I didn't really I don't know what it was. It didn't really grab me.
No?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
the way Deadpool did?
No, Deadpool was awesome.
Deadpool was awesome.
And I was disappointed by Batman v Superman.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, right now the best price I'm seeing for this game is $17. So if you're interested,
Yeah.
It's worth.
$12.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so far, even every single one of these has had a game that I liked and enjoyed and thought was good, and then other games that I've kind of picked up.
Right.
So
are you going to do your 10 minutes each on these games? Because
I didn't do it for March again.
You didn't.
No.
What you need to do is go back
And do Marches.
do March
And do Aprils.
and do April's.
Yes. That is my plan.
All right.
I want to do that. But yeah, so what I need is I need to find somebody who likes to edit, who wants to help me out.
Yeah.
Where I can just play it, like just an hour's worth of video, and let them edit it. Because I mean, that sounds bad. Like I want to do all the fun stuff, but some people like to edit. Like that's what they like to do. So if you're interested, just email us. Let us know.
Build your own survival bundle.
Yeah, I saw that. I already looked at it. There wasn't anything on there that
you didn't already own.
Well, I own Betrayer. I own I own 60 Seconds. These games aren't. I wasn't a big fan of Alan Wake.
All right.
Slender I've played. Penumbra Collection, I believe, is probably a lot of the I want to say Machine for Pigs, but that's
at that price point, it's probably old games because it's $10. Penumbra, Black Plague, Overture, and Requiem.
Oh, okay. No, that's actually a line called Penumbra.
Yeah.
I was thinking Penumbra Collection was a publisher company.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a new bundle that came out on Tuesday.
There wasn't, so I don't know if they were going back to every other week.
Yeah, maybe they were just doing something
But
for spring.
I think this might be replacing it right now.
A font bundle?
Yeah, the Humble Indie Font Bundle. So, for the max...
You get
no,
fonts?
For...
$2 more than...
Pay more than the average of $2.69, and I don't know, pay 41 cents or more to also unlock this one. So I don't know. It looks like if I'm reading this right, for
pay
about
what
$3.
you want, anything you want for this, at least 41 cents for this, $3 gets everything.
Right, and it's 7 fonts. I mean, I don't really use a variety of fonts like that, but it's just an interesting. They've never had that before. They've never done fonts, and it's interesting that they're, breaking out. 'Cause
Trying
sometimes they have
different
books,
things.
sometimes they have comics. I mean, they always have one or the other.
That's the thing about Humble Bundle is, we talk about a lot of gaming, and they do have their own Humble store, which is primarily around gaming, and that's basically where their start was. But it's interesting that they're kind of going out into these other areas and sort of seeing things. Now, I don't know if those fonts, you have a license for them, so you can use those potentially in games or anything like that, or if it's just if you want fonts.
Yeah.
I don't see the draw to it, but I guarantee that there are people out there who are like, what the hell is wrong with you? I would love to get 7 fonts for $3.
You know what I haven't said yet this podcast? Next article.
That's right, because these have all been great articles. There was a Steam security loophole that was exposed by a game called Watch Paint Dry.
Okay.
Basically, the company that did Watch Paint Dry was trying to let Steam know that there was an issue. And Steam really wasn't responding or doing anything about it, so they basically showed that there was a problem by releasing their game.
Yeah.
Even though they couldn't, they did it, not Steam released it.
Yeah.
They, through utilizing this backdoor, released their own game on Steam without Steam's knowledge.
Oh, wow.
And about 48 hours later, it finally came down. It was Watch Paint Dry is a sports simulator where you paint the wall and then watch it dry.
Yeah.
That's it. It was a joke, obviously, but
right.
It's interesting that we like Steam. Their customer service is our experience has been good, but it does suffer from we don't have any competition problems.
Yeah.
And so customer service can tend to go off the deep end a little bit, not become a priority when you don't have the you don't have competition.
Yeah, but they have a very vocal user base because they're very computer literate people that are used to being online,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to jump on their forums and scream and yell and send emails and inundate them with a lot of ouchy, this is annoying stuff.
Oh yeah.
So our short podcast
is very long.
Yep, we do that.
We are sorry, and at the same time, we're not sorry because
we know
it was good. It was a good podcast, except for that section where Justin and James were doing the interviews.
I mean, but Dire
The
Nerd
interview
Studios,
was
those
fine.
guys were great. Yeah.
Dire Nerd Studios was fine, but Justin and James, oh my god,
They're kind of idiots.
they are.
But you know, I realized something.
What's that?
Whenever we start off the very beginning and it seems very low energy,
Mm-hmm.
they end up being very long podcasts.
Yeah, it's true.
Because we were trying to do a short podcast and we're at our normal long podcast
Right,
length.
and we still have to add in the interview.
It's true. I know.
So
okay, so let's try to wrap this up.
Yeah.
People have lives to live.
It's true. I have no Man's Sky news for you right now, so stay
He
tuned.
looks so sad. You have to watch the video to see how sad he looks. Look at the camera. You have no new news about No Man's Sky,
I don't.
Justin.
Do I need new news?
What if the news was it's going to be delayed to 2018?
That would just mean because they're working on and making it even better.
God, he's such a dreamer. Gotta love him.
Oh man, every day I think to myself how disappointed I'm going to be in this game. Yeah. But anyway, you can come and find us on iTunes. You can listen to us on YouTube now, so check that out. All of those links are on Twitter and Facebook and at our website, DollarwiseGamers.com.
True.
We have the board game night. We will be playing
Shadows over Camelot.
Shadows over
most likely. Have you
Camelot.
reached out to Sherbets or Levis?
I have, yeah. And I believe that they will hopefully be available. So I will also be I'm going to get some final numbers this
All
week. So that's the plan. So
I think it maxes out at 5 players.
Okay. All right. So that's important.
I will look
information
that
to
up.
know.
We will know before you leave.
So and that's pretty much it. Do email us if you're not scared to at dollarwisegamers@gmail.com.
If you don't email us, we're going to tell Janet that you didn't.
Yep. And speaking of Janet, thank you, Janet, for the brownies. We assume they are brownies.
They look like brownies.
They
but
smell like brownies.
It's true.
I'm still very nervous about the fact that they say "eat me."
Yeah, if we never record another podcast,
You'll know why.
tell somebody.
Tell someone.
Well, I guess if we eat them now and we die, you'll never release this podcast.
If we'd had that's true. So you have to assume that we've lived at least long enough for me to release the podcast.
It's true.
But thank you, Brenin, for our wolf packs. Those are always a lot of fun. And thank you all to our fans. Thank you very much. You make this super fun and awesome. We always enjoy recording the podcast and sending them out to you and getting the feedback from you. So please give us that feedback. Comments, anything like
really
that.
quick, just looked it up. Shadows over Camelot is good for 3 to 7 players and is played best at 5 to 7. So we have space.
There we go.
We want to get to 5, and it'd be nice we could do up to 7.
All right. And finally, if there is a Walgreens near you, please take time to go over there and get involved in the Red Nose. Just buy a Red Nose, just $1, or donate something to it because it goes to a great cause. It's awesome. I say it not because I work for the company, but because I think it's a good thing. So there you go. As always,
Enjoy your existence.